Broken Arrow. Well, what do we have here? I'm Cringe Conrad, and it turns out John Travolta ain't the man we thought he was. Shot in beautiful landscapes across the
Southwest.
This movie isn't hurting for scenery, but the real reason we're all here is to see who's gonna come out on top when an elite pilot goes rogue and steals nuclear missiles for ransom. The movie begins with John Travolta beating the out of his wingman, the story's protagonist, Christian Slater. After which, he celebrates by smoking a cigarette like a robot. Then he doinks a door so loud that I had to pause and mention it. I mean, people work hard on these things, John. That door was installed by somebody. Just saying. Anyway, the movie really gets started when we learn Travolta and Slater are set to pilot a stealth bomber on a test mission with 2 live nukes. Because America. Meanwhile, a park ranger working for the bad guy snipes an old man and his wife to make sure things are secured.
Secured.
At which point, John reveals himself to be a slime ball when he tries to whack Slater and take over the aircraft. Then he goes straight Donkey Kong on his and pulls the plug for good when he ejects his partner into the sky, allowing him time to dump the inactive nukes into the Utah canyons. And when military command finds out what's happened, they aren't exactly thrilled. The following morning, Slater wakes up after sleeping off his whooping, but he runs into a park ranger who proceeds to give him another whooping. Thankfully, he's able to use his boyish charm to win her over, and now they're officially teammates. The next scene is perhaps the funniest in the movie when 2 goofball villains approach some military operatives and then realize that their shoes are untied.
Hey, no problem. We just, Oh, jeez.
That gets me every time. Travolta then returns to man the operation, but first he makes sure everyone has refreshment.
Care for a Coke or something?
What kills me about this scene is I don't understand how John knew there was Coke in the cooler. I guess he specifically asked for Coca-Cola to be available during the operation. Or one of his goons let him know they'd be bringing some Coca-Cola in case he wanted some. Either way, it's one of life's great mysteries. Anyway, one of the goons informs John that his old pal Slater and his park ranger friend were spotted somewhere nearby, so he sends a chopper to take them out. Meanwhile, the good guys locate the nukes and prepare to deactivate them. But before they can, they're betrayed by Howie Long, who reveals himself to be an absolute scumbag. He even calls command and lies, pretending that the nukes are releasing radiation.
Colonel Wilkins, this is Airman Kelly, sir. Get Road is dead. They're all dead. What the hell happened? What the hell happened? It's the nuke. It's open. It's wide open. What happened? Oh, God. What am I gonna do?
Next, John's patience runs thin with one of his crew, the overly cautious Mr. Pritchett, as he tells him to relax by smacking him in the chest. This'll come up again later, as Mr. Pritchett grows increasingly worried with the level of risk he's assumed. Suddenly, the goon chopper sent to kill the heroes arrives and tries to snipe their socks off. But they screw around too much and get tricked by the park ranger as Slater lines up a shot from the canyon. The chopper goes down in what honestly is a really cool scene. The sound design for the rotor spinning is also pretty intense. Of course, Mr. Pritchett loses his cool when he sees the helicopter explode and realizes the group now has to transport the nukes with their trucks. And when he expresses concern over the money he's invested in the operation, John tries to put his mind at ease.
But I can't depend, and I can't guarantee that those in Washington won't do something stupid like not pay. What if they don't? Well, if they don't, the Southwest will be a quiet neighborhood for about 10,000 years.
Anyway, after the bad guys take off with the hardware, Slater and the Ranger make their presence known in the most tactical way possible, by flopping on top of their moving vehicles with a single pistol and a handful of bullets. And it works out swimmingly as Slater flies off the back of the truck and then nearly gets run over. In fact, it's a little frightening just how badly John wants to run his old buddy down.
Run him down. Get him! Get him! Get him, goddammit!
Next up is my favorite moment in the movie, when the bad guy driving the lead vehicle is thrown out the door, and Howie clearly swerves to the left to flatten his chest like a pancake. I mean, is there any loyalty between these dirtbags? He still could have lived until you flattened him, Howie. God damn it, Howie Long. But before anyone has time to think about it, Slater tosses a bomb of flames on their hood and gets away with the nukes. He and the park ranger then take the nukes to an old mine shaft to hide them, but he unwittingly activates one while John and his team close in. So instead, he plans to set it off deep below the surface and bury the other nuke in the rubble, which John isn't a big fan of. A gunfight then ensues, in which John dodges bullets by flopping through the air, and one of his henchmen tries to close the show with a grenade. But instead, he gets wrecked by his own teammate, and Slater uses the opportunity to seal himself off. But unfortunately, it allows John to escape with the other nuke. However, shortly after the bad guys depart, Mr. Pritchett wigs out when he realizes a nuke is about to go off. At which point John realizes he's had enough and whacks his teammate in the throat with a flashlight the size of a telephone pole. Sadly, it's not a blow Mr. Pritchett can sustain, so he logs off the chat for the remainder of the session. And while staring at his dead body, John goes to a dark, dark place.
I just realized something. I never actually killed anyone before. I mean, I don't know what the big deal is. I really don't.
Meanwhile, the heroes find a hidden waterway that flushes them into a lake and away from the bomb's blast. And a gunship confronts John and Howie just as the nuke goes off and shuts down all electronics, causing the chopper to crash and the villains to deliver some remarkable play-by-play.
Son of a... Shockwave took down the damn chopper.
And now, as the film approaches the final showdown, it seems to enter a time warp where the characters start teleporting all over the place. Travolta and his goons teleport to a train to move the remaining nuke to Denver, and the park ranger teleports to a hidden location on board. Meanwhile, Slater teleports to a command post to rally the troops and derail the bad guys once and for all. The park ranger then kicks off the climax when she tries to whack a neckbeard with a hammer, but it turns out the guy isn't such a dork after all.
You probably thought I was a computer nerd, didn't you? Wrong. I was a Navy SEAL, lady. You really should see what I can do with just my thumb.
Well, it looks like SEAL training didn't cover how to dodge a hammer. Maybe they should take some time to work that in. The ranger then tries to brick the nuke, but of course John shows up to crash the party. And when she doesn't comply with his demands, he decides to smoke the young lady. But luckily our hero is waiting outside with a cannon in his hand and a skilled pilot on the sticks. And at this range, I'm not sure why no one can land a shot. But hey, it's a movie. With that said, there are some awesome moments here, like this one, where the best helicopter pilot in the nation swoops in and chops these guys down like weeds. I mean, this guy is threading needles left and right. I've never seen somebody with this level of talent. Oh no! He just slammed into a mountain and exploded. I thought this guy was the best. It's a good thing Slater jumped out beforehand. Otherwise, I guess that would have been it. Anyway, Slater decides since he's down a chopper, he might as well even the odds by taking out one of John's. And when the pilot tries to take off, a tampered gas line results in an explosion he never saw coming. What kills me about this scene is that Travolta clearly motions to the pilot to stop what he's doing and even screams, "Cut the power." But the guy's response is to be confused and immediately reach for the starter switch. It seems this pilot didn't have the level of talent the other pilot did before he slammed into the side of a mountain. Now left without his precious chopper, John realizes the jig is up, and Howie tells him to shut down the nuke. But the boss seems a little unhinged, and I'm not sure he's ready to go quietly into the night, which triggers Howie Long and provides the best line of the movie. Right before he gets fa-duped off the train and delivers a prolonged scream that's actually kind of satisfying. Slater then gets to work on John with a spinning flop shot that's so effective it causes John to flop, which is no easy feat. In fact, it scares John so much he threatens to blow the nuke unless Slater drops his weapon and agrees to throw hands like a man. And now we're ready for the final showdown. Luckily for us, it's quite the contest, as both men show off their skills in a fight that includes flips, abdominal devastation, and crowbars to the back. But eventually Slater gets the upper hand, unleashing a combo that John just can't handle. Then he simultaneously dives overboard and deactivates the nuke as the train crashes and his nemesis suffers a twofold fate that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. First, some sort of interdimensional black magic turns John Travolta into a crash dummy. Just moments before the missile rams into his stomach, blasts him through the wall, and explodes his plastic body into pieces. Second, if you pay attention to what preceded, it was clear that John actually had a plan when you see how excited he was before he turned into a dummy. It is my belief that if this unfair wizardry had not occurred, John would have regained the advantage, and we might even have a sequel. But what's done is done, and I guess we just have to accept this bullshit. Of course, now that the goons are dead and the nuke's a paperweight, it's time for Slater to make his move on the park ranger, who is pretty damn handy to have around. And well, there it is. Broken Arrow is an underrated masterpiece of the genre, and a movie I've seen too many times to count. With that said, it only gets better with age, and takes us back to simpler times, when explosions and bozos were all we needed to make amazing movies. I'm Cringe Conrad, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe below.